So this begins our second vertebrate lecture, and we're going to move into the vertebrate classes of fish here. We're going to start with, we have our jawed fish, the most diverse and numerous group of vertebrates. We have the two classes, the chondriichthyes, the cartilaginous fish, and we have the osteichthyes, the bony fish. So when we talk about cartilaginous fish, most are marine predators, cartilaginous skeleton, and we have the skates and rays, and we also have sharks. So when we look at them, they are mostly marine, skeleton of flexible cartilage rather than bone. True bone is absent. Sharks among the earliest fish to develop teeth. Teeth are not set into jaw. They break off easily and are constantly being replaced. Rows and rows of teeth to replace old ones. They have a fusiform, which is a streamlined body, tough leathery skin, a pair of pectoral or a pair of pelvic fins. Well, they have a pair of pectoral and a pair of pelvic fins. The medial portion of the pelvic fin has a clasp on it for males for copulation. One or more dorsal fins and denser than water. All right. And most swim to maintain buoyancy. Okay. So let's see. When we talk about rays, we have shark, skates, and rays being the main ones that we deal with there. Now, when we talk about the osteichthyes, includes 90% of living fish species. So we have the three subclasses, the ray fin fishes, the lobed fin fishes, and the lung fishes. So when we talk about the, let's go into the ray fin fish. Fins are supported by thin, flexible, bony rays. Scales are present. All right, so they're thin and lightweight. Some fish, like catfish, have lost their scales over time, and their fins have greater mobility and a variety of functions. Okay, and then we talk about the lung fish. Okay, we have the lungfish, South American, African lungfish can live outside of water. All right, so it's a very interesting fact that they have the ability to live outside water for a short period of time, which is believed to be one of the turning points towards amphibians. Okay, and we'll talk about amphibians coming up. Okay, and so as we move through our fish, we are now going to move on to we have a body plan here. Before we move on, we see the different fins and the bones of them. But now we're going to look on the evolution of amphibians. So lobe fin fishes arose during the early Devonian, used their fins to travel from overland from pool to pool. So these lobe fin fishes, they had these ability to move, okay, onto land, which we know early amphibians, lungs became more effective, and the chambers of the heart partially separated, making circulation more efficient. Early amphibians all require water at some stage in the life cycle. Most lay eggs in water. Okay, so amphibians are going to have an obligate tie to water. So the lungs are less efficient. So when we look at them, the eggs are deposited in water and must be kept moist. Their gills are used for respiration and must be kept in water, must stay close for reproduction. Their skin will lose water very rapidly, all right, and restricts them away from dry habitats. Okay, so when we talk about amphibians, there's an obligate tie to water, which we're going to see how that will help them to move to reptiles, losing that tie to water. So skin serves as a respiratory organ, so it's called cutaneous respiration, breathing through the skin. Let's see. Let's talk about the living groups. We have frogs and toads, salamanders, and caecilians. Okay, so let's move on and let's talk about reptiles. Okay, and let's talk about non-avian reptiles. We have evolution of reptiles. Reptiles arose from amphibians in the Carboniferous. Adaptation to life on land. They have tough, scaly skin, internal fertilization, amniotic eggs, and water-conserving kidneys. Now, what's important about this is that they are no longer tied to no longer tied to water. Okay, it allowed them to diversify and occupy different niches. Better developed lungs rely on them for gas exchange. Some amount of cutaneous respiration, but not as much as amphibians. Tough, dry, scaly skin to protect them from desiccation injury. Epidermis of varying thickness and a thick dermis. So amniotic egg allows rapid development of large young in dry environments. Okay, so when we talk about our reptiles and what type of reptiles we have, we're talking about, we have our testudines, which are our turtles, which have a dorsal carapace, or the shell, inner bony layer, use abdominal and pectoral muscles for breathing. Air is drawn in through the contraction of limb muscles to increase abdominal cavity. Exhalation is accomplished by drawing back the shoulder girdle to decrease the abdominal cavity. They're oviparous. They have internal fertilization. Females bury the eggs in the ground and then they desert them. A low temperature egg will result in a male, and a high temperature egg will result in females. So if there's some eggs laid in the shade and they're cooler, the turtles born will be male. If their eggs are laid in the sun and they're nice and warm, they will be females. So what's interesting is when we look at the order Crocodilia, the crocodilians and the alligators, they are the opposite. So a high temperature egg for a crocodilian will result in a male, and a low temperature egg for a crocodilian will result in a female, which is very interesting. Oviparous. So 20 to 50 eggs laid, so they're going to lay eggs. All right. So you have, you also have your squamata, which are your snakes and lizards, is the other order. So you have the suborder serpentines, which are going to be your snakes, and suborder saura, which are going to be your lizards. All right. And then there's another group that have another order that there's only 2 species found in New Zealand, which is pretty interesting. They have slow growth and reproductive rates, and they live a long period of time, but they are only 2 known species. They're very weird looking reptiles. You wouldn't expect them. You'd almost, if you saw them, probably think they're amphibians. And they're called sphenodonta. They're really interesting. If you take a look, if you look them up, they're probably just you're gonna think they're gonna look like an amphibian. So we have a little meme here. The real reason dinosaurs became extinct, joking that smoking is what killed the dinosaurs. So living reptiles, 4 orders: crocodilians, turtles, totoras, and snakes and lizards. So we already talked about that. We have the crocodile body plan right here. We have the turtle and tortoise body plan, armor-like shell, horny plates instead of teeth, and they lay eggs on land. We have our lizards and snakes, 95% of living reptiles. Most lizards are insectivores, all right, with small peg-like teeth, and all snakes are carnivores with highly movable jaws.